Now, if you want higher wages, let me tell you what to do. You got to talk to the workers in the shop with you. You got to build you a union, got to make it strong. But
This is Steve Zeltzer with Pacifica, and there is a struggle going on in Chicago of transit workers. There's an election campaign going on, and one of the candidates, Erek Slater, who is a bus driver, 17-year bus driver with ATU 241 in Chicago with CTA, is running for president, and he's been fired by management previously twice. This is the second time. And also he's fighting to be able to have the right to speak to fellow bus drivers at bus barns. And a couple of days ago, he was actually arrested when he was trying to campaign at a bus barn. So welcome to our show, Erek.
Thank you, Steve.
So, Erek, why don't you talk a bit about yourself and the recent incident where the police in Chicago arrested you for campaigning in an election?
Yeah, my name is Erek Slater. I'm a 17-year veteran Chicago Transit Authority bus operator, and my coworkers have elected me to be their shop steward and executive board member to 3 terms of the last 8-9 years. Well, many of my coworkers asked me to run for president of the union. We were really in a tough situation. We're facing massive violence. Hundreds of us have been improperly fired. They're really squeezing the runs and our schedules. They're not giving much time. I should just say right now I'm multitasking. I'm doing a lot of things, so I apologize for the noise in the background. And so we're on a campaign. We're fighting for the membership of the union, the workers to be able to control their union. That's really one of the main problems with many of the unions around the world is that management, sometimes city officials, et cetera, have kind of their fingers improperly inside the workers' organization. In this situation, management's tried everything they can. They fired me twice. They've tried to go after my coworkers, partially successfully. And workers have said that we've had enough. We need to massively change our organization. That's why they've asked me to attempt to help atop the union as the elected president. So I was able to make on the ballot, which was a fight in itself. I was not allowed to even pay my union dues. And we have very, very clearly interfered in the internal affairs of our union by, first of all, approaching me at each of the work locations, and we have 7 Chicago Transit Authority bus garages, which are huge facilities doing massive amounts of public transportation with over 500 workers each in these work locations. Each of these garages could do as much public transportation as most cities in North America. But we have 7 of those, and we have 3 Pace Suburban bus garages, and we have several other properties for our industrial union. So when I and other candidates come in, when other candidates come in, they don't have a problem. But when I come in, they confront me, they ask me to leave, and they say, if you do not leave immediately, we're going to call the Chicago Police Department. And they do. And so for the last several weeks, we have been in a struggle of requesting that the Chicago Police Department stop interfering, stop allowing CTA management to break the law. So we have a legal right to be at the work sites to discuss this matter. We're not only the exclusive bargaining agent for this workplace, the union has the right to have these discussions, but also the Illinois Public Labor Relations Act clearly says 2 things, basically. Management cannot interfere, and 2, the workers have a right to have discussions, including on internal policies such as electing officers of the union on property in break areas, so long as we're not disrupting workflow. So that's the law that they're breaking, but it's worse than that. They're calling the police to have me removed. And so they had done that many, many times. At one time, I was at 74th Street Garage. This was Monday, and 6 police officers, 3 squad cars come in. Management's there. There's like 20 or 30 workers. We're having a good discussion, but then they come in to break it up. And the police were frankly... in this particular instance, the officer was willing to listen. We showed them the legal documents proving that I was on the ballot, that I had a grievance good standing, that I'm an current executive board member with the rights to be on property, et cetera, in the Illinois Public Labor Relations Act. They're like, yeah, you got a pretty good point here, but I'm sorry, we're being told that's our job. We got to kick you off. And so, okay, so we leave, and as I'm leaving, I give an announcement. I asked the officer, hey, can I ask a poll? Can I ask a vote as to whether I should take a civil disobedience arrest or I should follow your orders? And she says, no, I'm not going to let you take that vote. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to follow your instruction. I'm going to give an announcement. Is that okay? And she says, okay. So I announce again that the transit authority is breaking the law by interfering in our rights to have a union election. And as I'm walking out, my coworkers give me a round of applause, right, as I'm walking out. Now, a few hours later, I go to my home garage of North Park, which I've been an elected executive board member for 3 terms, and I'm starting giving a speech, and we're discussing what we're planning on doing, getting more shop stewards, of defending the contract and the property, of trying to make an overture to the public, to the passengers, to go on a campaign to win support for better public transportation, more good union jobs. And as I'm doing this, police arrive, and they immediately confront me and say, I've got to leave, that they're going to try to accuse me of trespass. And I said, I begin to say the same thing, which we've been saying for weeks. We have the right to be here. And they said, we're going to arrest you. So I say, okay, I'm not going to resist arrest. So they march me outdoor. They put me in cuffs. And I'm a really big guy. So they couldn't fit me in the back of the police car. I'm like 6'6", 300, right? And so they had to wait for a wagon to come pick me up. So I'm in the middle of the parking lot with my hands behind my back, right, with all my union garb on. And I said, officer, you got a problem with me continuing to campaign? Because this is a really important time. The election's tomorrow. He said, right, okay. And so I'm shouting out, hey, everybody, press conference tomorrow at noon. They're arresting your executive board member in front of the parking lot in front of you for campaigning during the election. And by the way, vote tomorrow, right? And then they stuffed me into the back of this van, this wagon, and they bring me over to the 16th. They booked me in horrible conditions of a cell, and then they sent me over to another place and had me sit there for another 4 hours. It was about 8 hours total before I could get home. And that was on Monday. The next day, we went on while I was in prison, while I was in jail, several allies organized press conferences at one of the bus barns in the morning. We had several members, several stations followed that campaign. I was there early in the morning. Then we did another press conference again at the headquarters of the Chicago Transit Authority. And then this is while workers are voting. And then we went to the end of the day for the counting. And at this point, it's too close to tell. We have over 500 challenge ballots, many retirees, and those votes will be counted at the end of the week. So if the top candidate gets less than 50%, I am the second candidate with the second most votes. And so we will be in a runoff if that occurs on December 20th. Sorry if it took a while, but that's the update. And
we're talking with Erek Slater, Chicago CTA, ATU 241 bus driver. He's a candidate for president who's been arrested. What is the role of the union leadership of your local? Are they supporting the use of the police to attack your democratic rights to campaign?
Well, they're certainly not marshaling the power of the union to defend itself. Obviously, they're self-interested in this question because they want to continue in their positions and they don't want other candidates to oppose them. But the union itself must defend its right to be able to make its own internal decisions, especially about leadership. And the management, the city administration, these unelected officials that misuse and harm public transportation, they're the ones that are breaking the law. They're the ones that are harming workers' rights to have an independent organization. And by the way, this really harms the public. If the workers don't have an independent voice, then we get run over by management. And that harms the service. That means we're squeezed. And we have been squeezed for generations to go faster, more dangerously, to have less break time. They're harassing us for just taking a day off without pay. From the extreme stress, from the extreme danger, from the unsafe conditions, the unhealthy conditions that we are in especially during this pandemic, that they're packing these buses down the street in the working class communities. And so if someone's waiting a half an hour for a bus, the bus comes and it's packed to the gills, and they're instructing the bus operators and frontline transit workers to request the fare strongly. And by the way, the passenger got ghosted because the computer said there was supposed to be a bus and didn't show up because they supposedly can't get enough workers to drive drive the buses, to maintain the buses, to be mechanics. And so there's this friction. The passengers getting on ready to swing at the bus driver, and they do. And even if they don't swing, they're calling us out of our name. They're making verbal threats. And those verbal threats can oftentimes mean really serious danger because we're by ourselves in that bus. And so the fact that the city administration, through its managers, its transit officials, are able to put their dirty hands inside our union for generations really harms the public. So I asked the people of Chicago region, and really any good working person, to defend the workers' rights to have a clean election, to not be interfered by management in their individual decision. The only people who make this decision is the workers themselves. Let the workers have an independent organization. That's what I'm asking the people of Chicago. We may need to go public and to demand that they get their hands off of our union.